We must imagine Sisyphus happy. Why? Because in that moment, Sisyphus becomes conscious of his condition. He knows that the task has no ultimate meaning, and yet he still chooses to continue. It is precisely in that lucidity that a new kind of freedom appears. Welcome to Joe's Thinking Lounge. Driven by curiosity, in the history of human thought, one question returns again and again. If life will eventually end, does life still have meaning? In the previous episodes, we looked at two ancient philosophical responses. Epicurus argued that death does not harm us. The Stoics suggested that death is part of nature and therefore should not be feared. Both of these responses try to help us face death in a calmer way. But in the 20th century, a French thinker raised a more radical question. What if the universe itself does not provide us with any meaning at all? That philosopher was Albert Camus. Camus believed that human beings have a very deep tendency. We always want the world to be meaningful. We want the world to be intelligible, life to have a purpose, history to move in some direction. We want everything to have an explanation. But the problem is this: reality does not necessarily respond to that expectation. The universe itself may be silent. Camus called this tension the absurd. The absurd is not simply chaos in the world, it is a relation, a conflict. On one side, there is human desire for meaning. On the other side, there is the silence of the universe. When these two meet, the absurd appears. Once a person truly recognizes this absurd condition, a response becomes necessary. Camus believed that there are three possible paths. The first is suicide. If life has no meaning, then continuing to live may seem to lose its reason. In his book, The Mask of Sisyphus, Camus wrote, the only truly serious philosophical question is suicide. What he meant was this: once meaning is denied, life itself comes into question. The second response is philosophical escape. Some people try to restore an absolute meaning to the world through religion or through some metaphysical system. They try to make everything coherent again. But in Camus' view, this is a form of avoidance because it does not truly confront the absurd. It simply replaces the problem with an answer. So Camus proposes a third response: revolt. Here, revolt does not mean violence. It is not destruction. It is an attitude, a sustained, lucid attitude. We acknowledge that the universe offers no final answer. We acknowledge that life has no pre-given meaning. But even so, we still choose to live, to act, to create. Revolt is not a denial of the absurd. On the contrary, it is the decision to continue forward after fully recognizing it. To explain this idea, Camus turns to an ancient myth, the story of Sisyphus. Sisyphus is punished by the gods and condemned to push a stone up a mountain again and again. But each time, when he nears the top, the stone rolls back down. The process never ends. It is a level without completion. In that sense, his condition is absurd. No final result, no completion, no ending. And yet, Camus reaches a very famous conclusion. We must imagine Sisyphus happy. Why? Because in that moment, Sisyphus becomes conscious of his condition. He knows that the task has no ultimate meaning, and yet he still chooses to continue. It is precisely in that lucidity that a new kind of freedom appears. For this reason, Camus' philosophy is not pessimistic. It is not a rejection of life. On the contrary, it opens a new possibility. Once we truly accept that the universe does not provide any final meaning, we no longer have to wait for it. We no longer need to depend on an external answer. We can begin to create meaning ourselves, not because the world already contains meaning, but because we choose to make meaning within it. This condition for Camus is lucidity, a lucidity that continues to live even without final answers. If Stoic philosophy seeks calm, and the Epicurean philosophy seeks freedom from disturbance, then Camus may be seeking something else, lucidity, to remain fully aware in the universe without final answers, and still to continue living, to continue creating, and to continue loving. Thank you for watching Joe's Thinking Lounge. Stay curious, and I will see you next time.